I'm going to be telling you a story of how I lost an eye and ended up in jail because I refused to leave my abusive relationship. I hope my story reaches a large audience, and I also hope that young girls will learn from my mistake as well. I and my boyfriend Mide met when I just got into the university. He was in his final year when I entered school. We met at the school's cafe. He approached me, and I can't lie, he's a fine man. I liked him instantly, but I didn't want him to know because he would think I'm a cheap girl. So I just ignored him and walked away. I got a call from a number which wasn't saved on my phone. When I picked up, I found out it was him calling. I asked him how he got my number, and he just told me he has his way around things. I was impressed that he put effort to reach me after I walked out on him, which was quite embarrassing. We started talking from then on, and I must admit he is really a sweet soul. He took me to so many fancy restaurants I've never been to before. He bought me so many gifts, which included a very expensive phone I didn't see myself buying even in the next 5 years. I was the happiest when I was with him, but then he started demanding that we had sex, which I refused because I was keeping myself for marriage. He got angry and didn't call me for a week. One day, when I was busy writing notes in class, I spotted a girl named Shade giving me nasty looks. I was surprised because I've done nothing wrong to her. We don't even talk. I just thought that maybe she's just a troublemaker. So I ignored her. When I got to the hostel, I told my favorite roommate about Shade, and she told me Shade and Mide were dating. No wonder she kept giving me nasty looks. But then, I didn't do anything to her. If she has problem with Mide, she should go to him. I immediately got a call from Mide, which was surprising, as if he knew we were talking about him. I missed him so much, so I didn't waste time to pick his call. He told me to come meet him in the school's garden. When I got there, he gave me a gift and apologized to me for not calling for a week. I accepted his apology and took the opportunity to ask him what relationship he had with Shade. He laughed and told me not to worry about her because she's nothing to him. He even blamed Shade for their breakup and swore that they can never have anything. We talked for a long time that day, and I agreed to sleep with him because he has been a good boyfriend to him, so he deserves my body. We later went to his house and we did it. Our relationship went smoothly after that day. Everything was good in my life and I was enjoying every bit of my relationship. Not until I got a call from my elder sister to come to the house because there was an emergency. When I got home, I found out that my father died in his sleep. He slept and didn't wake up the next day. How come? I asked, but nobody answered because they were all crying. The ground started spinning and I didn't know what happened next, but I woke up and saw myself in the hospital bed. My sister told me I fainted due to shock. She handed me my phone because it has been ringing for a long time. When I checked the caller, I found out that it was my boyfriend. He must have been worried. I called him back, and after the first ring, he picked up. "You slut! Where have you been? I've been calling you since morning and you didn't pick my calls. Only to find out that you traveled without telling me. If I ever find out that you are cheating on me, I will kill you." With that, he ended the call. I've never seen this side of Mide. He didn't even ask me if I was okay. He just called to yell at me. I just lost my dad and my boyfriend is mad at me. Can today be any worse? After my father's burial, I stayed back home for a month to give my mother comfort because she was so unhappy and couldn't stop crying. My sister advised me against going back to school as there was no money to pay for my tuition. I didn't listen to her and just went back to school, hoping that I would pick up petty jobs to pay for my tuition. When I got back to school, I told my roommates everything that happened at home, in which one of them went behind my back to inform Mide about everything I told them, because he paid her to monitor me. I got really angry and confronted her when I found out, and we quarreled. Mide couldn't stop calling to apologize. He kept on sending me money, which I later used to pay for my tuition. He even went as far as telling the vice chancellor, who is his father's friend, to talk to me. So I had no choice but to forgive him. I went to his house and we talked things out. He apologized again, in which I forgave him. We had sex and went to bath together. I came out of the bathroom before him and was about wearing my clothes when I noticed that messages were popping on his phone, which was on top the bed. Out of curiosity, I took his phone to check who was sending him lots of messages. To my greatest surprise, it was no other person but Sade, whose name he saved as Sade Big Bom Bom. Indeed, she is endowed. I thought he said she's nothing to him, but why am I seeing messages that are about him abandoning her after I came back to school? They even had sex. As I held the phone, a drop of tears fell on it. I touched my face and I discovered that I was already tearing up. When Mide came out of the bathroom, he saw me holding his phone and dragged it away from me. "What are you doing with my phone?" he asked. "So you were cheating on me with Sade while I was away, mourning my father," I said in tears. "Yes, cause you left me for a month. How did you expect me to cope? Had it been you informed me before traveling, I wouldn't have gone to Sade." "You're a dog," I blurted out, and the next minute, I saw myself on the floor. Mide beat me up so bad that night that I had marks all over my body. I left his house with bruises all over my body, and I vowed never to go back to him again. Unfortunately for me, I found out I was pregnant for Mide 1 month after he beat me up. I was so confused and didn't know what to do, so I called my sister and told her everything. She advised me not to go back to my abusive boyfriend, but he deserved to know that he has a child on the way. I took her advice. I called Mide immediately and asked that we meet up, and that I had something important to tell him. When we met, he kept on apologizing for laying his hand on me. He said he didn't mean to beat me and he was so ashamed of himself. I told him that it won't be easy for me to forgive him. He immediately went on his knees and started begging me. He even cried. I told him I would forgive him on the condition that he would never cheat on me and he would be a good father to our unborn child. He got the cue that I was pregnant. He was so happy and told me to move into his house so he can take care of me and his unborn child, which I agreed. Everything was going well between I and Mide, not until I added so much weight due to my pregnancy. He started abusing me verbally, calling me a pig and all sorts of nasty names. I took them all until one day I could no longer take the insults again. He came home with Sade and slept with her on the bed we shared. When Sade left, I confronted Mide about it and we had a big fight. He started beating me so bad. He pushed me and my belly landed on the floor. I was bleeding, but he didn't stop beating me. He was about punching me when I used a knife lying on the table to stab him out of defense. I thought the knife landed on his arm, but when I looked up, I saw that the knife landed directly on his chest. I was arrested for the death of Mide the next day. Shade forgot something in the house, and when she came back to pick it up, she saw Mide's lifeless body and called the police. I was sentenced for 25 years, even though I unalived him out of defense. His family were very powerful, so they pulled some strings to make sure I rot in jail for the death of their son. They even went as far as paying a fellow inmate to pluck out one of my eyes. They wanted to do something to me that I'll never recover from. I regret not leaving Mide the moment I noticed he was very abusive. I was so naive, and now it has cost me my life, one of my eyes, and my freedom. Some young women decide to stay with their abusive partner because he gives them everything they want. I hope you all learn from my story and not think twice before leaving that abusive relationship. Your life and future is worth more than gold.